Welcome back to the solution video for the Parmigiano's Creative Brief exercise. Hopefully you've gone through and you've created a series of sketches for both the logo and the menu design, as well as worked on the color palette and the typeface palette for this project that we're going to be carrying on with throughout the rest of this course. Now, in this movie, I'm going to break down exactly how I came about all of these different decisions that I made here. First of all, let's take a look at exactly what I chose for this. If I move over this little window here, you can see that I have a very simple typeface palette. Everything is very clean, very easy to read. I have a heading, a subheading, and a body. And so in this case, what this is going to serve as, it's going to serve as the main part of the logo. This is going to serve as the sub part of the logo. I'm not going to use the body at all in the logo, but this is going to be the body copy font that I use for the menu, and then I'll use variants of these two throughout the menu as well to tie it all together. And so I've actually outlined exactly what I want it to look like down here at the bottom. So I always, I want this to be big and bold and red. I want this to be just sort of an accent color, and then this one, I want this to be sort of an afterthought at the end, a slogan or something like that could be used in that regard. Let's move on to my actual sketches. So here's my thumbnail sketch, and let me go full screen with this so you can see it, and I'll zoom in. So here are my thumbnail sketches for the Parmigiano's logo. And so I started off up here at the top, and remember, Papa Parmigiano wanted to be a part of the logo in some way, and so I tried to incorporate him in many different ways. And right here, number one, he's got that really distinct mustache, so I thought, well, maybe a scripted P with sort of a play on the P turning into a mustache or something like that. Then right here, I thought about maybe like a piece of pizza with a spoon and it forms a P, something like that. Then just a standard, kind of shield logo, Parmigiano's Pizza on top and on bottom. Here I thought about why not do like a caricature of Papa Parmigiano holding a pizza with Parmigianos out to the side maybe. Down here, a traditional almost like marquee-like sign. And you can see these are very low fidelity, no detail. I just know what they are based on my thought process. That's the only way you would know what this is. And so here is another example, almost like a pizza that's kind of folded over and steam rising off of it. Parmigiano is maybe somewhere at the bottom or maybe flowing along the edge of it would be kind of cool. Parmigiano's Pizza just standardized with maybe, a big P, big S. I could even put, like a wooden spoon or a slice of pizza in between there maybe. This one, just kind of a triangle setup. Here, this was meant to be, and I kind of got locked down at the bottom here and ran out of room. This one was supposed to be like the skyline of New York City set across the big moon that is a pizza with Parmigianos at the bottom. Then this one's almost like a little happy tomato, which I could have appended a mustache to maybe, so that's kind of interesting. This guy up here, it almost looks like a famous Muppet character, the Swedish Chef, in a way. And so this little guy right here, could be Papa Parmigiano, the big eyebrows, big mustache, all that kind of stuff. Then we've got here, I thought maybe a rendering of the Brooklyn Bridge, since it's in Brooklyn. Parmigiano's Pizza, that's a possibility. Here's just like a little rendering of maybe their oven that they cook pizzas in, that big coal-fired oven. Then I thought, maybe a pizza peel would be interesting with Parmigianos around the outside of it, big pizza in the middle. Right here, maybe this is just like a badge logo with a ribbon across the middle with Papa Parmigiano holding a pizza, something like that. Then we've got down here just a standard ribbon with a pizza instead of having Papa Parmigiano. Then I've got just a regular, almost like a vector drawing of his face, maybe with him speaking the name Parmigianos. I thought that was interesting. Then I thought about maybe a front door rendering of their front door if it's interesting, but then after looking at the photo, I was kind of like, probably not. This one, almost like a modern geometric shape, but I thought this might be too modern. It almost would look sort of retro 80s at the same time, not really, and then maybe a play on the Italian flag. Those are all of my ideas that I had that came to mind, and that's, quite a bit of them. And down here at the bottom, I chose to explore the following numbers, 4, 11, and 14. So number 4, that's Parmigiano holding the pizza. I thought that was interesting because it featured Papa Parmigiano. And then number 11 was another one that I wanted to look at, this one right here. And then number 14 was this one right here with the pizza peel. And so when I went in and actually started thinking about it, I thought, you know what? Yes, a play on Papa Parmigiano in some way, but only the main characteristics that set him apart from somebody else. So that would be the hat and the mustache. I don't need a mouth and eyes or anything like that. I don't need him holding a pizza. People know it's a pizza place, but I just want that big, like stylized look to that. The pizza peel. I thought the pizza peel could come into play more so on the menu design for this. And so I saved that idea in my idea vault, and I decided, okay, I'm going to play on that a little bit when we get to designing the cover of the menu. But for now, I'm not going to leave that in the logo. As for the menu itself, here's the basic layout of what I chose for this. And you can see I didn't fill up the sheet because there's not that many ways to design a menu. But in this thing, I chose, okay, maybe a one-page trifold. I had just a single one-page, maybe set on like a wooden background or something like that. I thought about, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did something die-cut where it looked like it was just a slice of pizza? And then I thought, okay, maybe tabloid size, poster sized with all of the ingredients listed with the logo big and bold in the middle and then some information down at the bottom. I thought about turning that on its side, having all the ingredients laid out where you could like pick one, pick two, pick three, and then that equals your pizza or something like that. Then I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we used InDesign to create an interactive tablet menu? But that was quickly axed by the client, as you'll see in my notes here in just a second. Then I thought, okay, traditional takeout, like bifold menu, but I didn't think that that one would have enough room to accommodate all of the information I needed to convey. And then finally, a quad fold with all this information just line by line. And then finally, a traditional just 8.5 by 11 cover inside and back cover. And so down here at the bottom, I wrote some notes down here. It says to explore 4 and 6. So I like the tabloid version of this, and I like number 6, the traditional layout. Right down here, it has a little star, and it says client hates the tablet idea, so we automatically axe that one out. Always listen to your client's feedback. What I decided on going with here was just the standard 8.5 by 11. I thought the poster size would be too big for small kids to hold in their hand, and since this place is sort of representative of families and they have low prices, which means big groups of people are going to come here probably with kids, these need to be very easily held even by small hands. So I think the traditional size works out well. So let's get out of there. And now let's take a look at how I actually went about creating the typography and also the colors. So here I am on typekit.com, and I'm going to use Typekit to sync all the fonts that I want to use for this. So I wanted a big, bold sans serif font for the heading, so I started off automatically with sans serif. I wanted on the desktop, and then I also wanted to make sure that it had a bold weight. So I started looking in here, and first thing I did was choose headings to make sure that I found exactly what I wanted. And when I was looking through it, the thing that caught my eye first was the A and the G right here in Adele Sans. And the reason it caught my eye was the ear on the G. I just thought that was kind of cool. I like the way that the bottom of the G is adjoined to this. And so I just liked the overall stylings here. The counters are really nice. And so I went ahead and I added this to my fonts that I have on my computer. So I just clicked Use Fonts, made sure that I included the bold because I want it to be bold, and I synced it over. And if you don't know how to do that, go back to the typography chapter and it'll show you how to do that. Next, I needed the accent piece, so I just turned off sans serif and went with a serif font. But I wanted to make sure that this one was a little thinner. So I chose a thinner weight. And once I chose the thinner weight, I also turned off headings because I want this to be not necessarily a heading. It could work as one, but it doesn't have to be one. And immediately, the first one that showed up was Clavo. It matches the style with this little ear coming off the G, and then it also matches this down at the bottom with the styling at the bottom. And so I thought, you know what? That's going to work really nicely with that other typeface. And so I clicked Use. I made sure that I synced all of the smaller versions of this. I also included a bold in case I needed it, but I just went with mainly the thin and the light. It's because I wanted to experiment with those. So I chose that. And then finally, I needed to find a good body font. I switched back to sans serif. And when I switched back to sans serif, I went ahead and chose a lightweight, and I said, okay, make it good for paragraphs. That's what I said there. And I started looking through. I use Proxima Nova all the time. I hate to get locked into that. These look too thick for me because it's going to distract away from the headings and the subheadings. So I came to Museo Sans. and I wanted to take a look at it. And when I clicked on it, I started looking at it. The X height is relatively tall for me, but I thought it's going to work pretty well. It's kind of a thinner typeface with a higher X height. It looks pretty good. I don't necessarily care about the bold stylings. I'm only interested in the 100 weight, which is where we're looking right up here at the top. And so I went to the type tester, and I switched to the 100 weight, and I just typed out something like, "Welcome to Parmigianos." And I got to looking at it, and I use this little slider all the time. I play with it to see exactly what it's going to look like at all different sizes, and it was quite readable. And I liked it, so I went ahead and I synced that one over as well. So I just clicked Use Fonts, made sure that the 100 weight was selected, and synced it on over. And that's pretty much all of the process for developing the typeface palette for this design. The colors were a different story. We already went through and developed some colors for Parmigianos earlier in the course. If you remember, if I go to My Themes right here, you can actually see the Parmigianos that we did before. It's right here. And it's more of a traditional look. It's kind of muted compared to this new one. So how did I come to this conclusion right here? Let me click on the info, and we'll go to the edit screen, and I'll just kind of walk you through what I did. So I started with my base color being red, and I wanted it to be bright, bright, bright red. So what did I do here? Well, I took the CMYK values. So this is cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. That's what these four little things stand for. So what I did here was I made sure that the yellow and the magenta were both at 100%. That's going to give me bright, bright red. From there, I turned on the complementary rule. And when I did that, I got this green right here. And so with this green, I then used that as a basis, and I thought, you know what? This one could use just a little bit more yellow in it. So I just punched it up a little bit to 75, something like that. And when I did that, it made a change to my previous swatch. So I went back and I turned on custom rules for this. And from there, I went back, I edited my base color. I said, you know what, I want that back to 100. I'm going to keep this at 175. And then I just started mixing all the rest of them. I knew I needed a black and a white. So I went ahead and just mixed up black. And then I went here and I mixed up a white color because I knew I needed them. And so I went and I just switched those over. And this is the basic process for how I set this up. And finally, this one right here, I went and chose just a dark color for this, a darker red color. And when I got to the color that I wanted, I was happy with it. I thought, you know what, that's going to set off a good background contrast because maybe I'll have a gradient in the background that goes from one to the other. Something like that gives me a great contrast between the two and also helps set apart from the rest of these as well. So I've got primary colors, I've got accent colors, I've got shadow colors, I've got good text colors. I'm good to go. And so from there, I saved it. And so let's go back to My Themes. And so you can see right here that I've saved that as Parmigianos V2. And as I saved it, it synced itself to my Creative Cloud account. But I also went in here and downloaded it as a .ase file. That way, even the applications that don't sync with Kuler right out of the box, I can load this up in there and use those swatches anytime I want. And the fact that I use CMYK values to develop these colors makes it even better because then I know that they're going to look good in CMYK color. So that's the breakdown of what I went through to develop all of the different things that we're going to need to build out this Parmigianos brand and menu design. So hopefully that makes a lot more sense to you now that you've gone through all of this stuff. I hope that you were able to come up with some great ideas all on your own, and I encourage you to work alongside me on my Parmigianos project as well as your own and continue to refine it until we get all the way to the very end and you have an amazing finished product.